A proposal to criminalize serious abuses of public rental housing flats. An excavator accident in Lambton leaves 3 people injured. And Joe Biden defends his foreign policy record. Hello and welcome to TVB News. The Housing Bureau is proposing legislative amendments to criminalize serious abuses of public rental housing flats. They include subletting these units or using them for commercial purposes for financial gains. The amended law is set to go into effect by mid-2026 at the earliest. Jackie Lin reports.
From tomorrow, a real name tip-out system, the Report Public Housing Abuse Award Scheme, will be implemented. It comes with a maximum cash reward of $3,000 to crack down on the abuse of public housing. Now, one more move is on the way. To combat tenancy abuse, the Housing Bureau has proposed to amend the housing ordinance. Subletting a public rental housing flat for financial benefits or letting it be inhabited by another person, and when the supposed tenant does not live in the unit but uses it for commercial purposes, are classified as serious abuse and will be criminalized. Currently, penalties encompass the termination of tenancy and the issuance of an eviction notice. Under the new proposal, such cases of abuse can lead to a maximum fine of $500,000 and a 1-year prison term.
We will only focus on the severe abuses. And the reason is because if convicted, the people who are charged with these kind of crimes will be criminalized, and they would have a criminal record. And so that, I think, is a deterrence.
The Housing Authority also proposes to empower Housing Authority staff to check the identity of suspicious persons on reasonable grounds. And if they refuse to provide information, they are guilty of an offense and are liable to a fine of $10,000 and imprisonment for 6 months.
On
whether that will give too much power to HA staff, Wang said other ordinances also grant such powers to relevant staff. She cited the West Kowloon Cultural District Public Open Area Bylaw, which gives officers similar rights. The Housing Authority also proposes that offenders could still be prosecuted within 6 years after giving false statements or refusing to provide information, or 1 year after the offense came to light. It will consult the Legislative Council's panel on housing over the proposed amendments next month. Expected to be submitted to the legislature for scrutiny in the second quarter, the law is targeted to take effect in mid-2026. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
3 people were injured after an excavator fell from a hillside worksite and crashed through the barrier of the construction site before slamming into a garbage truck in Kwun Tong. 1 person was trapped in the truck for 3 hours before being rescued. The Civil Engineering and Development Department said work has been halted on the construction site and it will cooperate with the Labor Department's investigations into the incident. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Footage captured by drones showed the excavator, as well as rocks and other debris, covering the front of the garbage truck on Lin Tak Road. The incident happened at around 10 a.m. when an excavator fell from a 3-meter-tall platform and crashed through the barrier of a construction site before slamming into a garbage truck that was passing by. The driver of the excavator managed to crawl out of the vehicle on his own, while the truck driver was rescued by fire services personnel. Firefighters used an assortment of tools while attempting to lift the debris off the injured. Other officers were seen securing the garbage truck's position to prevent it from tipping over. Several firefighters tried in vain to climb to the other side of the vehicle, hoping to rescue an injured individual. A crane was then arranged to remove the excavator that laid on top of the truck. At around 12:30, the worker that was trapped for nearly 3 hours was rescued. The man was conscious at the time and managed to talk with the firefighters, but was required to wear a neck brace. The Fire Services Department noted rescuing the trapped worker was difficult, owing to the narrow interior of the vehicle. The Civil Engineering and Development Department said the Kwun Tong construction site had been undergoing road expansion works, adding that the companies in charge of the operation regularly check the site's barriers. But a spokesperson of a group from the construction sector is skeptical of the safety culture on site and questioned why heavy machinery was brought on an elevated platform when the soil beneath it was likely not a stable surface. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
One of the workers injured in yesterday's scaffolding accident in Kai Tak remains in critical condition. Chief Executive John Lee today called on construction companies to step up safety measures. Work has been suspended at the construction site on Shing Chong Road. Police officers continued to investigate the scene. On Monday afternoon, a piece of scaffolding measuring 60 meters by 20 meters collapsed. 11 workers were injured. Chief Executive John Lee today said the Labor Department is looking into the case. Lee noted the government had earlier raised the maximum fine for breaches of the Occupational Safety and Health Ordinance to $10 million, with a maximum penalty of 2 years imprisonment for serious cases. Outgoing U.S. President Joe Biden has defended his foreign policy record, saying President-elect Donald Trump will inherit a nation viewed as stronger than it was 4 years ago. Biden also said the U.S. will not be surpassed economically by China, as had been predicted, while Russia and Iran have been weakened by wars without direct U.S. involvement. David Garrett with more.
An ovation for the president who did not stand for re-election. President-elect Trump's inauguration is next week. Addressing US diplomats at the State Department for the last time, Biden says he leaves with the US as strong a world power as ever.
I've said many times, we're at an inflection point. The post-Cold War period is over. A new era has begun. In these 4 years, we faced crises that we've been tested. We've come through those tests stronger, in my view, than we entered those tests.
Biden says the United States is winning the worldwide competition. The 46th president believes it is better placed in the geopolitical struggle for influence than 4 years ago, telling the audience to gauge that against US adversary Russia.
When Putin invaded Ukraine, he thought he'd conquer Kyiv in a matter of days. But the truth is, since that war began, I'm the only one that stood in the center of Kyiv, not him. Putin never has. Think about it. Putin has failed to achieve any of his strategic objectives. He has failed thus far to subjugate Ukraine, failed to break the unity of NATO.
With secretaries of state and defense listening, Biden grouped together what he termed major authoritarian states.
States are aligning more closely with one another. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea. But that's more out of weakness than out of strength. So as the new administration begins, the United States is in a fundamentally stronger position.
The 82-year-old went on to address China relations in detail, speaking about summits with President Xi Jinping and the stiff competition between the two economic powers.
Many experts believe or predicting it was inevitable that China's economy would surpass ours. According to many predictions, that would happen by the year 2030 or shortly thereafter. But we in this room said no. If we make the investments in ourselves, if we protect our workers and technologies, that will not happen. Now, according to the latest predictions, on China's current course, they will never surpass us.
Biden defended his actions in Afghanistan, having got bin Laden during the Obama-Biden administration. Once Biden became commander-in-chief, he saw no reason to keep thousands of servicemen there. He said China and Russia would have liked to see us continually tied down. Biden ends to lengthy applause, signing off by saying he is leaving Trump with a very strong hand to play. David Garrett, TVB News.
A ceasefire between Israel and Hamas in Gaza appears close. Negotiators are meeting in Qatar after U.S. President Joe Biden said his deal put forward in May is now on the brink. In Doha, they're discussing the proposal, which would free hostages in Gaza, halt fighting, and increase aid. Israeli officials say negotiations are advancing after discussions with the outgoing and incoming U.S. administrations. Hamas has accepted a draft agreement, appearing to have dropped its condition for Israel to leave the Gaza Strip. South Korea's Constitutional Court adjourned the opening session of the impeachment trial of suspended President Yoon Suk-yeol within minutes today after the embattled leader did not attend court. A lawyer advising Yoon said the president would not attend as a bid by authorities to detain him prevented him from expressing his position at the trial. Yoon's aide pleaded with the law enforcement to abandon their efforts to take Yoon in custody over last month's martial law imposition. Yoon has been holed up in his presidential residence in Seoul for weeks. The next trial session is scheduled for Thursday. If Yoon does not attend that session, the proceedings will go ahead with his legal team representing him. Authorities have pledged more forceful measures to detain Yoon while they investigate whether Yoon's short-lived martial law declaration amounted to an attempted rebellion. In Thailand, 33 Chinese tourists were saved from a sinking catamaran south of Phuket on Monday afternoon. The Phuket office of the Marine Department was told that the catamaran had sunk about 1.6 nautical miles north of Koh Ratchayai at 12:30 p.m. The area is located to the south of Phuket. According to the manager of the catamaran, the vessel was leaving Koh Ratchayai for Koh Hae with 33 Chinese tourists on board. A window on the right side of the catamaran became detached and water from the waves got into the vessel. The catamaran sank in about 20 minutes. The tourists were all rescued from the water by nearby boats. The presidents of Russia and Iran will sign a comprehensive strategic partnership pact when they meet in Moscow on Friday. Vladimir Putin will host Masoud Pezeshkian. The Kremlin says the leaders are set to strengthen their partnership. The deal looks to be similar to the one Russia already has with North Korea, meaning the nations will work closer on defense. Putin has reached out to countries hostile to the U.S. Iran wants the use of Russian missile technology. Still ahead, Chinese officials reportedly evaluating the option of selling TikTok's operations in the U.S. to Elon Musk. National Security Police take away the wife and son of pollster Robert Chung to assist in the investigation of a case. And findings of a survey on how Mainland Talents are doing in the city. Welcome back. The deadline for TikTok's sale or ban law to take effect in America is just a week away. According to Bloomberg News, Chinese officials are exploring the sale of TikTok's U.S. operations to billionaire Elon Musk. But the company's representative has denied the report, calling the plan pure fiction. Danny Cho tells us more.
Last Friday, the U.S. Supreme Court listened to 2.5-hour oral arguments over the ban on TikTok, which is scheduled to take effect on Sunday. The social media giant sought to halt the enforcement of the law on the grounds that it would violate the free speech rights of the short-form video app's 170 million American users. But the Supreme Court is likely to lean towards upholding the law. Several justices were skeptical of the applicability of TikTok's arguments and appear to agree with the U.S. government's alleged concern that China could access the vast amounts of TikTok user data. Bloomberg News reported that Beijing is discussing contingent plans, including one that would have Elon Musk's social media company X acquire TikTok's U.S. operations to keep it from being effectively banned. Bloomberg said Chinese government officials haven't decided on whether the plan would proceed. However, a TikTok spokesperson dismissed the report, saying, "We can't be expected to comment on pure fiction." The U.S. Congress passed the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary-Controlled Applications Act last year. It forces TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance to either sufficiently divest its holdings or face a nationwide ban in America. Beijing updated its export control list in 2020 amid rising tensions with Washington over technology and intellectual property, raising the hurdle to sell the stake of TikTok. ByteDance also said it does not want to sell. As TikTok's content creators anxiously await the Supreme Court's decision, thousands of American TikTok users flocked to another popular Chinese app, Xiaohongshu, which is widely known as Red Note in the US, over the weekend, labeling themselves as TikTok refugees. If the top court decides not to block the law or to delay the deadline, TikTok's fate might lie with US President-elect Donald Trump, who is due to be inaugurated on January the 20th. Trump has opposed the TikTok ban and said his incoming administration could negotiate a political solution. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Chief Executive John Lee announced that starting tomorrow, all Hong Kong SAR passport holders visiting Saudi Arabia can obtain a visa on arrival at designated ports of entry. Timothy Lee reports.
Marking the first Executive Council meeting since the Christmas and New Year holidays, Chief Executive John Lee wished the city well.
Today is my first media briefing session with you in 2025 before the EXCO meeting. So first, I wish you all the best of luck and health. In 2025, we're going to see many major events in Hong Kong.
The chief executive noted some of these events include the official opening of the Kai Tak Sports Park to the public in March, the first phase of the light public housing receiving its first batch of tenants, as well as the start of the Chinese Medicine Hospital project via phases. The CE also shared some of the latest news of the city's baby panda twins, saying they will meet the public this February. Major announcements were also made regarding the city's push for more Middle Eastern tourism to Hong Kong. The visa-free period for Saudi nationals in Hong Kong will also be extended to 90 days, while holders of the Hong Kong SAR passport receive new travel benefits in the Middle Eastern country.
Starting from tomorrow, the 15th of January, holders of Hong Kong SAR passport on arrival at designated ports could apply for instant visa. That includes visa lasting for 90 days. That means holders of SAR passport could visit all 6 members of the Cooperation Council of the Arab States, including Kuwait, Qatar, UAE, Oman, and so on.
Under the new measure, Hong Kong passport holders are now granted visa-free or visa upon arrival entry in 172 nations and territories. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The office of former Chief Executive Carrie Lam will be relocated to the Immigration Tower in Wan Chai, a move expected to save taxpayers money. Lam's current office at Pacific Place in Admiralty had been under scrutiny for costing more than $26 million to operate over 3 years. The office will be vacated ahead of the lease's expiration in mid-May. The relocation aims to reduce rental costs while allowing Lam to continue fulfilling her duties as a former CE. The Wan Chai Immigration Tower will later be demolished for office building redevelopment. Lam's office is expected to stay there for the next 3 years without affecting the redevelopment plan. The wife and son of Chung Kim-wah, who is on the police wanted list, were taken away from their home to assist in national security investigations. Chung used to be the deputy executive director of the Hong Kong Public Opinion Research Institute and is now a fugitive. His son and wife were taken to the Mong Kok Police Station and the Tin Shui Wai Police Station, respectively, in the morning and left the stations in the afternoon. Last month, the police offered a reward of $1 million for information about Chung Kim-wah in relation to alleged national security offenses. The National Security Department of the police force yesterday took away Robert Chung, the president of the Hong Kong Public Opinion Research Institute, and searched the head office of the organization. An increasing number of mainland talent who are working and studying in Hong Kong have become the city's immigrants. 2 Legislative Council members, in collaboration with the Hong Kong Youth Expat Association, conducted an online survey to understand how they're doing and feeling about the city. Ann Ip reports.
Among the 800 immigrants interviewed, 80% of respondents were optimistic about Hong Kong's future. They're mostly under the age of 35, with roughly half of them studying and half working.
注意嘅問題咧就係
LegCo member Johnny Ng said a key issue faced by immigrants from the mainland was the difficulty in establishing new businesses due to restricted capital flow between mainland China and Hong Kong. He also said immigrants found it hard to adapt because of language barriers and cultural differences. Ng said these are problems that he wishes to address through policy changes.
We can provide more language training class in order to support them to adopt the local life and development. In terms of the development of industry, we need to divide more and more different support to technology, finance, and other professional service in order to let the immigrants have more chance to work together and also to have a startup like that.
因為我哋係嚴重嘅人才短缺。
Founder of Hong Kong Youth Expat Association, Cherry Chong, said she believes that immigrants from the mainland are beneficial to Hong Kong. For example, there are new talents in the e-commerce industry, which the city lacks. Johnny Ng stressed Hong Kong is a popular destination for immigrants from mainland China due to its reputation as an international hub.
Hong Kong is one country, two systems. We have the very free freedom market and also free flow of capitals, and also they can have more exposure to the international market.
Ng expressed his happiness over the positive feedback he received from immigrants who said they enjoy living in Hong Kong, emphasizing he hopes that they will be recognized not just as immigrants, but as valued residents who truly belong to the city. Ann Ip, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.